Installez-vous, s'il vous plaît, please. Take your seat. All right. So, let's start by introducing everybody.
Commençons en présentant tout le monde. Nous n'allons pas commencer par les invités qui sont en face de vous sur la table, mais nous avons
and Florence Baker. And at the table with us, we're going to start by the very end with one of the producers, Johannes Schubert. Next to him, the actor Amir El-Masry. And Ksenia Devriendt. Luke Barker. We're going back to this end of the table with the other producer, Philippe Babett. Screenwriter Géraldine Bajard. Elsa Zylberstein. Mia Wasikowska. Et Madame la réalisatrice, Jessica Hausner. All right, guys. I'm going to open the floor to questioning, but I want to ask you guys, how was the catering on set?
Awful.
There wasn't any.
Like the dinner.
Method acting.
It was catering zero? All right, more seriously, how did it start? How did you want Jessica, to apply your kind of telling a story to eating disorder and to tell this story?
I wouldn't even say that it's a film about eating disorder. Maybe it's even more about a very strange sort of faith or nutrition religion that evolves between Miss Novak and her students. I was interested in showing how much an idea can influence the actions of us humans. I think we all, in a way, have our ideas and we believe in some things. That's how we are able to make our decisions. But if those ideas are becoming, let's say, manipulated or even radical, it can end dangerously or devastating. And I wanted to show how strong an idea in one's head can become. It becomes a new reality for the people who believes.
Is there any truth to it? I mean, I know there's a lot of I don't know, ideas about nutrition now, the fasting, this kind of stuff. But is there any truth with that? Some people that saying maybe we should stop eating at all?
I love that question. But between us, no, it's not true.
All right, this is a question for I say the entire table. I mean, Jessica has a style of her own. I mean, she has a way to tell a story that no one else has. So I wonder, for the actor, for the producer, for the screenwriter, what does that mean for you guys? What does that mean to get into a way of telling stories?
Well, Jessica has a really strong vision, and she had that from the beginning. And I think, as an actor, it's always exciting to just be a part of somebody's vision that's incredibly clear from the beginning and new and different and completely unique, and that's what you want, I think, as an actor. So it was great.
Yeah, exactly. I had seen a couple of her films, and I think she was so unique and in the way she tells a story. And when I read the script, I was really stunned because she was talking about the world today in such a huge way, in such a special way, about environment, it's like the whole film is a metaphor, especially nowadays. There is so many, the link and the invisible line with what's happening today. She's pushing the limit, and I think it's so brilliant. And the extremism of the film was so... I was stunned when I read it, and I thought, oh my God, she's telling us about the world today. And so I love her work as a director, and I was so honored that she chose me.
The young actors, maybe?
I think it was really interesting how much attention to detail Jessica pays as well. As they were saying, she's so specific and unique. And I remember in every scene, like even in the background, there always had to be one like weird, out of place thing. I thought that was so fun and interesting.
Like the acting directions are very, very clear, which for an actor is quite ideal. And I don't know, like you can tell that it's all to create sort of like a really weird off-putting effect, which kind of, creeps you out. So, yeah.
I would say Jessica's like a painter. You know, she knows exactly what she wants. It's really weird to say talking about Jessica in third person, but you're essentially you relinquish everything and you surrender yourself to her vision. And that requires a lot of trust, but you immediately get that the second you meet her. I mean, personally for me, when I went on set, it was everything was placed and everything was calculated from the second I got on. It felt like being on stage, essentially. There's a reason for everything, and when you look back at the film, you'll recognize that.
That's absolutely true. I mean, the composition of the shots are very specific to your work, Jessica. What does that mean in the writing, Geraldine? Do you take care of that also? Do you take that in your mind when you're writing it?
I must say it's exactly the same. I would join all the comments now because it's like so specific. It's like an adventure each time. And I really enjoy it. It's like really, and sometimes it's tough because we try to push boundaries as well. And I enjoy it. Yeah.
How about the production part?
So I think, as everyone has said, everything is very precise and planned. But at the same time, I have to also say that, of course, it's a big team working on it, all the departments. And I think Jessica is also very open for everyone to get involved in, the creative process. She's open for ideas and then pushing it towards the vision of the film. So I think these two elements of this precise vision and then being open for everyone to be a part of that is just what makes great filmmaking.
Philippe?
Yes, I think that there is probably a lot of planning with Jessica's films, and I guess that the detailed side of her filmmaking is also in the production.
All right, so just right here.
Good morning. I'm Bridget from Radio Flamme, Cherbourg, France. Congratulations, Jessica, for your movie. I'm wondered, can you let us know how you decided to choose the furniture, the movie set, the color of school uniforms, the makeup, because at the end everything is awful. The makeup of the actors, they are awful. I mean, how did you manage that?
That's a good comment. Everything is awful. I like it. Thank you so much. No, I know what you say. Yes, well, maybe connecting what Amir said earlier, I also think I sort of design images. I see myself as well as a painter. And so the colors and the costumes and the set design is really a crucial part of creating my films. And I work together with Tanja Hausner, the costume designer, for all my films, and also with the director of photography, Martin Schlacht. So I think we develop a certain style together, which is also, there is realism in it, of course, but maybe you can say it's a heightened realism or something more artificial than usually. And I try to sort of not place the story in a specific place or time, because I want to tell maybe even a timeless story or a more universal story. And concerning the makeup, at some point very early on in the whole script writing process, we decided that no one would have to lose weight for the film. my experience is that you have to lose really a lot of weight until you see it on the screen, and I would not want to ask anyone to do that. So we decided to apply a specific makeup when we want to suggest that the kids lose weight. And also with the costume, we emphasized this. So we had larger sweaters, and they had different shapes so that the persons look skinnier in it. So now we know all the tricks how to make someone look skinny. Yeah, so that's basically the answer.
All right, gentlemen, the cap on there.
Déjà, félicitations pour
Thank you, and congratulations on your film.
Félicitations pour votre film. Je suis Hervé David Onla, Oxygène Mag Burkina Faso. Je voulais aussi rentrer dans les petits détails, notamment sur la musique, le bruitage dans ce film, notamment sur la percussion. Quel est le choix qui a prévalu justement pour l'option de cette percussion qui était quand même assez forte. Particulièrement attiré. Il y a beaucoup de suspense à travers justement ce bruitage. Le choix qui a prévalu justement pour
Why did you make this choice?
Yeah, thank you for asking. The music is really a very independent part of the whole storytelling in this film. The drums, the idea to have percussion in the film came also from some cult music that we listened to. Marcus Binder, who composed the music, and me, we were sort of doing some research about what drums are used in some voodoo rituals, or all over the world you do have percussion also in Asian countries that are part of religious or spiritual rituals. And we found that very interesting to have that emotional rhythm of the drums that is sort of, it pushes you forward in the story, and it shows also how much, how the group dynamic and how the whole dynamic of the cult is accelerating, and how it becomes more and more convincing or grabbing the souls of the young kids.
I'm going to come to you in a sec, but I would love to ask you this. You're terrific in the film. I think we all agree on that. And but there is you gave this Miss Novak, which is totally not this very serious and this determination, and the way you play her, you interpret her. It's really something very true, very credible, very believable. How to give her some seriousness and some how to give her all this kind of believability?
Well, Jessica and I talked a lot at the beginning we talked a lot about Mrs. Novak and what was behind her motivations and intentions, and we came to the decision that it was very important for her to be played as a true believer, that she really thinks she's doing the right thing, and that she really thinks she's helping the kids and saving them, and she's not consciously manipulating and I always just came back to that in terms of Mrs. Novak, and I think it really creates a bit of a scarier, form of manipulation, I guess. Yeah.
Oui, bonjour.
Good morning,
C'est une question pour la réalisatrice. Il y a et puis je pense que les personnes qui sont à la table pourront peut-être répondre s'ils ont envie aussi. Il y a un célèbre humoriste français
French comedian who said that when you sit for a meal, you shouldn't say bon appétit, you should say good luck. What do you think about that?
Why would you say good luck?
Parce que c'est par rapport à la nourriture que l'on a aujourd'hui.
It's considering what happens today and the food available today. How can I explain this? The food you have today is full of pesticides, the fruit is full of pesticide, it's a different kind of food. So if you say good luck, it means good luck in terms of all these additives. So instead of saying enjoy your film, you say enjoy your meal, you say good luck.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's good. I totally agree. I totally agree. I understand the point, yes. And that is, of course, part of the story that is being told in Club Zero. So there is, like in Miss Novak's food religion, which becomes more crazy in the end, but the foundation of it is very real. And it is very true that also the young students in the film, they rightfully want to fight for a better environment and for better nutrition. And some of it is really very rightful what they talk about. So I think this is an important part of the film, that basically, especially the character of Elsa, towards the end of the film, when she has her speech about how the food industry is destroying our bodies and destroying the planet, well, she's right. And Elsa chose a very extremist way to express herself.
Elsa, puisque vous représentez les parents à cette table, les parents sont complètement paumés dans cette histoire. Ils sont totalement ailleurs. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez que le film, qu'est-ce que vous pensez que Jessica dit là-dessus sur la façon dont les parents...
Je pense que ce qui est justement très intéressant, c'est que on se dit que les parents, ça part des parents aussi au départ.
Film also talks about the parents as well.
Les parents sont aussi fous
the
que les
parents
enfants.
are as crazy as the children, in a
Il y a
sense.
différentes représentations
There are
sociales.
different
Ça, c'est vraiment
social
intéressant.
representations here.
Nous, on est de la bourgeoisie, on est des gens
You have the
qui
middle
apparemment
class,
ont
the
tout, mais n'ont
bourgeoisie,
rien.
people who
En
have
fait, ce que je trouve
everything,
très
but in
intéressant,
fact
ça
they
parle
may
aussi
have
du
nothing.
vide
It also
inconsidérable,
talks
du manque de communication
about
dans les
this
familles.
huge
Des gens qui ont
emptiness.
beaucoup de
People
choses,
don't
qui ont
communicate
la fortune,
in a
l'argent,
family.
tout ça.
People have
Mon
everything.
personnage,
They
par
have
exemple, on a beaucoup parlé
money,
de Jessica.
comfort.
L'idée, c'était de faire
The
une fille qui
idea
était
was
évidemment qui
to
est
depict
anorexique,
an
anciennement anorexique, qui a un
anorexic
rapport à la nourriture
daughter
très compliqué.
who has a very
C'est
complicated
peut-être un endroit où elle a du
relationship with
contrôle,
food.
où
That's the
finalement
only
elle a une
area where
vie
she can take
qu'elle aime pas
control.
tellement, où il n'y a pas de bonheur.
But she has a life which is devoid
quand
of
sa fille se met
happiness.
à s'arrêter
And
de
her
manger,
daughter
ça lui provoque
stops
du plaisir, elle se
eating.
dit, heureusement, je suis pas toute seule. Enfin,
And
les
suddenly
dîners de
she
famille dans le
says,
film,
"Oh, I'm not
sont
alone
tous très
anymore."
tendus, en tout cas
All the
dans notre
family
point de vue,
meals in the
dans notre
film
famille
are
à
very
nous. Donc
tense.
ça, je trouve ça vraiment intéressant.
So I find it very
Effectivement,
interesting
quand je
to
disais, ça
see
parle
this.
du monde aujourd'hui.
When I say the
Au-delà
film
de la
talks
nourriture,
about the
c'est vrai
world
que,
today, over and beyond
en fait,
actual food
dis-moi ce que tu manges, je
or
te dirai
diet,
qui tu es.
tell me what you eat, and I'll tell me who you are. The link to food is very evocative of neuroses. We all have our own personal relationship with food. In France, it's a very private matter, eating. And the film depicts this so beautifully with different types of parents. The woman who's alone with her son, or the parents who are a long way away in Africa who say everything will be okay. The film talks about the lack of communication too, this huge gap you have between parents and children, these two worlds which are growing ever more distant. What's magnificent is the way in which they all are searching for an ideal. Our lives, our money, our houses, well, there's no ideal left. And the teacher gives them an ideal and says, well, look, we can save the planet, we can exist, we can find an ideal elsewhere. It's an incredible theme, it's amazingly deep. I watched the film yesterday and I thought, well, the film, there are different ways of reading the film, of understanding the film, and I find that this film is extraordinarily deep in all these respects. Of course, there are different types of parents, and this is clearly shown in the film. Some of them are lost, others are worried. My character is almost pleased to see her daughter react in this way, but there's a total lack of communication between parent and children. This is what is so absolutely amazing in the character of the teacher. For example, the film talks about the world today, how we are just followers and get enrolled based on what one person says. We're all followers. I find this very interesting that Jessica make a film on this, how we all tend to be followers and want to believe in other people.
Hello, first of all, greetings from Ukraine, and I have a question for Jessica and for Mia, as the creators of the character Miss Novak. And what was your inspiration? Did you attend like any special clubs back when you were at school, or could you please tell about your experience? Thank you.
Could you ask the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, I want to ask, like, maybe did you attend like any special clubs back when you were at school, and what was the inspiration?
If some special clubs were in
Yeah, like some clubs of interest, like nutrition club or I don't know.
I understand, sorry. No, we didn't meet any people
Chess club, I think.
What?
Chess club.
The chess club.
That was my club. But
you mean us personally or for the film?
I meant like personally, what was your experience back at school?
Oh, so back at school. Yeah, I didn't go to a chess club. You did?
I did. It was very good. Yeah, but I think I don't know, I think our inspiration for...
nutrition club.
No, there was no nutrition.
I'm sorry, is there such a thing as nutrition clubs in high school today?
I think
does that exist? It doesn't, does it?
I think they do install some classes about healthy nutrition. Yeah. I hope they don't go so far as Ms. Novak
Hope so too.
No, also in my youth, I didn't join any nutrition club. I mean, I was in an only girls Catholic school in Vienna, and yes, I was witnessing some eating disorders. That was very like some girls did have anorexia or bulimia back then. I think still a lot of young people, unfortunately, have those eating disorders. So I could observe how devastating it is and how much of an addiction it can become to stop eating. It's something that sort of gives you a high or also a feeling of power over your body, but also over other people. I think not eating is sometimes also a means to, as in the scene with Ragnar and her father, she actually does punish her father with not eating. It's a power game also, and it's also used in politics sometimes to make a political statement in form of a hunger strike.
Yeah. Oh no, and in our research we did visit a boarding school that was quite progressive. And I remember talking with the school counsellor, and she did say that eating disorders can often spread through the school like trends. So she was seeing that today. In the school that we were visiting, you know, looking at this kind of elite boarding school. But yeah, that was interesting, I thought.
Bonjour, Gabriela Bravo, Culturizar de Chile.
From Chile.
Ma question, ça va être en français. Donc, comme vous avez dit, votre film ne parle pas des désordres alimentaires.
Does not talk about eating disorders, but in my view, it talks about the new gurus, the new plots.
C'est la question pour Madame Jessica.
And I have a question for Jessica.
Si vous avez inspiré
Did you draw inspiration from all these new movements on the internet, anti-vaccination, for example, COVID doesn't exist, and all these kinds of new beliefs? And I have a question for the actors too.
Vous êtes plus touché pour cette nouvelle pour tous ces news, pour tous ces infos qui apparaissent sur Internet.
Are you affected by all these news on the Internet? How do you experience all this huge flow of information and fake news that abounds on the Internet?
Yes, maybe it wasn't an inspiration, but of course I tried to observe and to portray in this film what I see, what is going on in the world. And of course, the presence of fake truths and a lot of weird information on the internet is part of what I'm trying to say, that it's quite hard to navigate through all those different ideas and to find out what is right and what is wrong. But I would also like to mention that another thing that has evolved lately is a sort of trend for radicalization. So the film is also talking about how ideas can radicalize people and how that comes along, and I think we need to ask ourselves, why is that, and is there maybe a moment earlier where we should listen better? Especially in Club Zero, we have those aims and wishes of the young generation, like environmental issues, and I think it would be important for us to listen well before any radicalization is necessary.
Did you find the answer? Why is that? Did you find the answer?
Yeah, I think I just said it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have a question for the young actors about that. I mean, did you recognize in the script, in the story, some of the stuff you see on the internet, some of the stuff you see going on the social network, the conspiracy theory, or the stuff that you see about, as a lady said, about the anti-vax and stuff like that? Do you see that the movie is also talking about that?
Just I sort of see any of those things, whether it's eating disorders or other sort of radical groups or anti-vaccination or fake news, as symptoms of a larger issue that's very similar, or, you know, in the sense that the film isn't necessarily about eating disorders. I mean, it is. That's what's been the chosen expression of an issue that's sort of really permeated our time, I think. I don't know exactly what that is, but a sort of, you know, the conversations that we have around this film, I think is, yeah.
Yeah, it's, I must add, yeah, exactly. It's an idea of radicalization in a way. Could be like, you remember Starship Trooper, he was talking about dictature, and in a way, this film as well, the way she expressed it is the food, but she talks about the world, that's what, yeah.
I think people are very, very quick, especially with like my generation. They're very, very quick to just consume any information that's given to them, rather than actually critically thinking, oh wait, is this like actually true? And so it's very easy, I think, it's very easy for people to persuade people over the internet and whatever medium it may be, because they can just sort of say whatever and people just kind of blindly agree with it and kind of take it on board and then go forward in their life with that kind of mindset. And I feel like, I'd say with the movie, it's almost like Ms. Novak's trying to like push the students to let go of any sort of like ability to critically think about it, or it's almost like a river, like critically thinking in another way, the opposite way. And I mean, like, I don't know if it's just like delusion or what, but yeah, it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. I think we got a question in the middle here.
Anne Wakefield, I'm from Cadena Raza, Mexico. So I was wondering, there are a few films have come out lately about our voracity, which extends to eating, like in the menu, Triangle of Sadness. So I wonder if you had also this as a reference of how perhaps our culture is actually trying to say something about our overconsumption that becomes voracious, and that it can, in your film, I think you're expressing that the extreme of any stand against something like that can become dangerous. Is the other extreme, I think. I wonder if you could just comment on if you have this as a reference, these other films, like the menu,
Triangle of Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness, that talk precisely about the other extreme of the voracity with which we consume.
What is voracity? I don't know the word. Voracity.
When you eat, overeating and
overconsumption, I guess,
okay,
which is something you talk about. Thank you.
Well, maybe as I said earlier, I think not eating can become a political statement. And this is, in a way, also what happens with some of the characters in Club Zero. Elsa, so Ksenia's character in the end, uses the not eating also to express her wish to improve the world and to do something better. And also the character of Helen, who is sitting here in the front row, also she expresses very firmly that she wants to improve the environment and the environmental crisis. So I think this is how not eating is being used for some of the characters to express themselves. Yeah, and also the eating too much, yeah, that's also what Elsa says in the beginning. of the film, that us rich countries, we have an oversupply of food. And we need to learn to control. And so they start from a very rightful position, I would say.
All right. Lady in the fifth row, and then you come back.
Hi, Lina Bassi, Hollywood Foreign Press, Ukraine. It was a very interesting movie which touched a lot of very important topics. But I would like to ask you about the role of parents, who seems to be shifting the responsibility, their own responsibility, to the schools and doing their own stuff. Could you please comment on that? Thank you.
Yes, this is an important aspect of the film, that we ask ourselves if maybe the parents should have paid more attention to their children. And I think this is also, I think it's a problem in our society in a way, that parents work a lot. They just simply sometimes don't have the time to look after their children, and they hand over their children to teachers or caregivers. And then on the other hand, us as a society, we don't really appreciate those caregivers, do we? I mean, they're not, I think, if in relation to how much our children are the most worthy things we have, we should appreciate teachers and caregivers much more. Pay them well, respect them well. And I think it's not the case in our society. Other things have high value. And I think that's wrong. I actually think we should take more care and more attention about what happens to the young generation and to our children.
I just follow up on this one. I mean, the more involved, I mean, the parents are all concerned, but the more involved parent in the film, the single mom who was not rich and was trying to get a scholarship. What did you mean by that? What did you exactly mean by giving her the kind of the most involved parent character?
Well, I think some of the stories also about absurdity, because in the end, when the parents finally decide to get rid of Miss Novak, it's for the wrong reason. They don't really see what is really happening. And this mother, she does see what is happening, but she has no say. They don't believe her, and she's in the minority. She sees the truth, but no one believes her, and that's absurd and also tragic, and that's sort of that's her role in the whole film.
I think you have another question.
Bridget, Radio Flamme, Cherbourg again. I've got a question for the young comedians. Was it difficult to pass the casting, and what did Jessica ask you to do?
So it was like a school-wide search throughout the UK, and there were a lot of rounds. And but I remember the first time that we had to audition in front of Jessica, she would make us say the lines in like a different, like each line. She was so precise about exactly what she was looking for, and she just had these like ideas that I could never have thought of myself, and it was just so interesting to hear her thoughts to illuminate the text.
So I also got cast through school when I was still in school, and yeah, I mean, it was like self-tapes at first, and then the first sort of in-person auditions with Jessica, it was kind of like you'd be trying out in different ways, kind of, she'd almost give you like a mindset to think, to then approach the lines you were saying with. So it's kind of just like trying out, I guess, seeing like how you can use your own brain to, you know, like say the lines essentially. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
I think we have another encore here.
Oui, c'est encore moi, je m'excuse. Alors moi j'ai une question sur l'esthétisme du film, parce que c'est vrai que l'architecture, vous l'utilisez magnifiquement, la lumière, les décors, tout ça. J'aimerais savoir comment vous avez travaillé cela par rapport pour mettre en avant cette histoire, parce que c'est vrai que je trouve que cela est très important autant que les personnages.
All this is very important and equally important in terms of the characters.
Yes, I agree. The aesthetics are important in this film, and concerning the college we shot in Oxford, it's called St. Catherine's College. It's designed by Arne Jacobsson, a Scandinavian architect in the 1960s. And that was deliberate to choose a place that is not a typical UK college, like in Harry Potter or so. We decided to choose a building that is untypical in a way, or that questions a little bit, where is that, when is that? That's what I'm looking for. Also through the costume, we try to create a setting that is not set in a specific country or time, to have a more universal storytelling here.
Okay, we got time for one more question. Gentleman here.
Bonjour, Serge Belèche, Kiné.presse. Je voulais savoir comment vous avez travaillé avec la script sur l'histoire du film.
On the story of the film with all the writers and everybody.
Geraldine, you want to answer? I start. So I work with Geraldine Bajard on my last 3 or 4 films. Like we started Lourdes together. That's how we met, and we also co-wrote my film Amour Fou and Little Joe, and now Club Zero. And the way we work is basically we sit down together and like in a ping pong game, we throw ideas at each other and the other person throws them back. And so it's a sort of mirroring process also that I think it's important. If I have something in my head, I need to tell it to Geraldine, then she gives me the feedback, I don't understand it, oh yes, I find it funny, or no, that's boring. So it's good to find out how this idea specifically can work. And then her echo comes back and she contributes with her own ideas. So I think that is a process that is quite refreshing and fruitful for us. And yeah, that's how we work together, I would say.
All right, mesdames, messieurs, just 2 more things to tell you. First, merci beaucoup. And the second, bon appétit. Thank you.
Good luck.